On average, I do probably 2 player interviews a week with Sky. So, I've done lots of, I do corporate bits as well. I host a lot of Q&A nights with players. So I'm around elite performers all the time. And I think undoubtedly they're talented physically. You don't get to become a Premier League footballer without that physical talent. The really elite ones that I've spoken to, I think what separates them is this insane mindset, like this positivity, the highs and lows of being as an elite athlete. There's obviously elements to that we're extremely jealous of, the adulation, what they do for a living, the financial benefits that come from being a sports person. Having said that, there's an immense amount of pressure, and what we don't see is the amount of times they have to move club, move their family out of schools, and there's a lot of challenges, or when they get injured, for instance, and you're sat in a treatment room on your own. And I think the ones that I've interviewed, that the really top performers, have this incredible mindset that they'll look at everything as a positive. Like, through adversity can come their biggest success. If they lose a game or get an injury, they'll use that to sort of ignite a fire in their belly, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it's a good question, that. And I'd say this sort of mindset that the elite athletes have would be one that I've definitely taken from meeting a few.
Is there anyone that sort of really surprised you in an interview? In a good or bad way?
Pedro Neto. So Pedro Neto plays for Chelsea, Portuguese. And I interviewed him early on at Wolves when he was less known than he is now. Not done much media or many interviews. And we did a light-hearted feature, a true or false one, where he had to have a paddle that said true or false. They're quite light-hearted questions. And he just started talking about how he's got the best haircut, how he's the best looking player, like all of these things that came out, and how confident he was, and just had an absolute laugh with it and didn't care what people were. And it just had such an amazingly warm personality and characteristic. He's just someone that I could think I'd love him in my dressing room. Sonny's another one at Tottenham, obviously being a Tottenham fan myself. Absolutely love the guy, and a huge legend for the club. But he's probably the nicest footballer I've ever met, in terms of just little things like, there's a room full of people behind the cameras now, the talented people that put the show together, right?
Whatever. Anyway, carry on.
But he'll just walk in and shake everyone's hand or ask everyone how they're doing. It's very how we should be, but very authentic, and has genuinely got time for everyone. And we took an approach where, when we had access to talent, which we had through Sky's contract with the Premier League, we wanted to do things a bit differently. Rather than sit down with a player, Liverpool are playing Man United, let's ask him about how do you think the game is going to be? What do you think? Stereotypical questions that they get asked a lot. We wanted to do light-hearted features, quizzes, something that was a bit outside of the box. So
I just want to double check that you've subscribed to the show, because it really helps us continue these important conversations. Thanks.
It meant that I was doing very unique content. Now, that content is very normal now. You see players doing all sorts, but back then it wasn't. So for Jurgen Klopp one, for instance, which is why this always stands in quite high regard for me, because we decided to ask him some of the most searched questions about him on the internet. So some of the most searched questions are things like, where does Jurgen Klopp get his teeth done? What's Jurgen Klopp's favourite emoji? Who would play Jurgen Klopp in a movie? But we've got to send this email from Sky to Liverpool's press team to go, how it usually works. The press officer says, can you let us know roughly what you're going to be speaking to? They'll approve it. We'll do the interview. We'll put it out. So we're then going, I remember speaking to my producer about this. He goes, I'm emailing Liverpool. The senior press officer saying, this is what we want to speak about. Jurgen Klopp's teeth, his hair. How do you contact him? What's Jurgen Klopp like on a night out? Doesn't strike you as the most professional email, but what ensued was just amazing, talking about, how he loves the thumbs up emoji, why he got his teeth done. He loves Tom Hanks. He watches Forrest Gump. And it was just, it went so well that afterwards we were talking about Forrest Gump, and then we started talking about thrillers with a twist. And so off camera, when he was de-micing, I said, you speak about thrillers. Have you watched Shawshank Redemption? And he said to me, no, show me now. And the press officer went, no, you've got a live press conference to get to in 5 minutes. I want to see this trailer. So I'm showing him the 2.5-minute trailer in its entirety while he's late for his press conference. And he looks at me and goes, I'll watch that tonight. And I just thought, so we were doing things like this. I was talking to Mikel Arteta about how romantic he is and things like that. And to Pep Guardiola about his love for golf, and Thomas Tuchel teaching Cockney rhyming slang. And I was doing these very, quizzes with Jamie Vardy. I was doing very unique content at the time that was very different with a lot of players and a lot of managers. So yeah, I've got some very fond memories, and we continue to do that. But it did mean I had, some very interesting conversations. I remember speaking to Mauricio Pochettino 2 weeks before the Champions League final, And one of the questions, again, it was this premise asking him the most searched questions. And it was genuinely one of the most searched questions on the internet was, does Mauricio Pochettino dye his hair? And during the interview, it's incredible. He went, look, he goes, no grey hair, but grey hair. And he pulled down his top to reveal grey chest hair, but not grey hair. And the next time I saw him, when I was working at the Champions League final for Tottenham, he looked at me and went, look, it's still grey. And I just thought, I don't know how many presenters are getting this feedback. And it was, a lot of fond memories. And I absolutely love what I do.
If you enjoyed this episode of Man Alive, you would love this one. Go on, press it. Click now, press it now.